Morning, good morning, good morning. Let's find some music for you guys. Sure. What we got here? Yeah. Yeah.
I could just sit and wait for all your goodness. Hope to feel your presence. And I could just stay right where I am and hope to feel you. Hope to feel something again. I can hold on to who I am and never let you change me from the inside. And I can be safe. I can be safe here in your arms and never leave. Never let these walls stumble. You have called me higher. You have called me deeper. I'll go where you lead me, Lord. You have called me higher. You have called me deeper. I'll go where you lead me, Lord. You lead me. You lead me. I can hold on to who I am, never let you change me from the inside. I can be safe. I can be safe here in your arms and never leave. Never let these walls down. But you have called me higher. You have called me deeper. I'll go where you lead me. You have called me higher. You have called me deeper. I'll go where you lead me. You lead me. I will be yours. I will be yours for all my life. And I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. And I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy. Oh, I will be yours, oh, I will be yours for all my life. So let your mercy light the path before me. 'Cause you have called me higher. You have called me deeper. I'll go where you lead me, Lord. 'Cause you have called me higher. You have called me deeper. I'll go where you lead me, Lord. 'Cause you have called me higher. You have called me deeper. I'll go where you lead me.
everybody. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Mary. Good morning, Jackie. It is Saturday morning, and it is supposed to have rained here all morning, and it hasn't rained at all. It's actually beautiful outside right now, but they say it's coming. It's supposed to rain a lot, so we'll see. How are you guys showing up today? Did you sleep well? Good Friday. How'd it go? How's all that kind of good stuff? Fix this because she's gonna want to change it. Glorious morning, Jackie. All right. Glorious. Well, do we have any big plans for the day? Just chilling. Birthday parties. Baby showers. Fishing. I don't know, Amanda. You going fishing? Growing up hungry. Need some breakfast. I feel you. I got up this morning and made cinnamon rolls for all the kiddos. We have our niece and nephew here with us. So, you guys are, oh, awesome. Dance recital. That's awesome. D has his next Sunday, the 11th. Yeah, it's nice to chill. Not have a lot of plans sometimes, for sure. Things going away party this evening. All right. That'll be fun. Hanging out with some friends. All right. Stacey's making her way over here. She didn't sleep too well last night. That bed, it's got one of those, I guess like a memory foam mattress, and neither one of us do very well with those.
You think that's what that is?
I think so.
I think it's just a tough mattress.
Oh. Anyway.
I thought memory foam has a little bit of good.
Yeah. Well, it's not super comfortable. I was really tired, so I was out, but I think she had a rough night. All right, so we're about to jump into Judges 16. Good old Samson again, this time with the story that is famous, we all know about. Samson and Delilah. I did Friday when I went by myself. I caught some fish. Yesterday, Isaiah and I went, but we got started really late because he didn't sleep the night before. We were going to go early before the live, but he didn't, sleep at all. So we waited and didn't get out there till almost 10. It was like time we got to the water, maybe 9:30, 9:45. So, and we had to come back by like 11:30, 12, I think. So we didn't get to fish much. And we were trying to figure out the striper thing, but it was kind of late. So no, it was not a good day yesterday. It was beautiful out. It's great. And Isaiah, I let him drive the bass boat all the way from the dam back to the marina, which was about 30-minute drive. He did really good. He was a little scared at first, but he did really well. He got his speed up to he was driving about 40 miles an hour. So he did really good. There wasn't hardly anybody out. So it was good. So that was a lot of fun. But I did catch some on Friday. This morning would have been a really, really good morning to be out, especially right before this front comes in. Fish usually bite better. It was nice and cool this morning. So, but it's the way it goes. All right. Baby, you want me to start this? Pray and then start? Okay. Let's pray. Father, we are excited about today, excited about the opportunity to read your word. And so we just ask that you speak to us. I know we're about to read a story that we've all heard, but help us to hear it from a new perspective, and help us to learn from it and grow from it. Something that we can take away and apply to be better for you today. Lord, just be with everybody throughout the day, all the different things they have going on, and just bless each one of them. Thank you for all that have participated and watched with us in this journey, reading the Bible together. Lord, we just pray that we honor you in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. If you're with us or watching us on a replay, my name's Chris. My wife Stacey will be here, and we do what's called a Bible recap, reading through the Bible. And we are in Judges 16, day 95. Believe that? Day 95. So we're going to jump in here. You want to sit down before I start? You want me to just start? All right. Good old Samson and Delilah. Samson went to Gaza, and there he saw a prostitute. And he went into her. The Gazites were told, Samson has come here, and they surrounded the place and set an ambush for him all night at the gate of the city. They kept quiet all night, saying, can you push it up? Oh, just a different level. It's got me cut off on my head, but that's all right. I got it. But Samson laid till midnight, and at midnight he arose and took hold of the doors of the gate of the city and the two posts and pulled them up, bar and all, and put them on his shoulders and carried them to the top of the hill that is in front of Hebron. After this, he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. Okay, so this first woman was a whole different deal.
Prostitute.
Yeah. I guess I just never, and I knew, but I guess I didn't realize how prevalent prostitution was then. Like a lot. So it's not like, a new thing that was created. It's funny, like in the U.S., good U.S. of A., we like to think that we kind of created everything. And all started here. So anyway.
Sometimes I wonder if people think we created God. Like America is like.
Yeah. All right. So now he done did his thing here. So now he says, after this, he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up to her and said to her, seduce him and see where his great strength lies, and by what means we may overpower him, that we may bind him to humble him. So clearly he had been giving the Philistines fits for a long time.
You and Mary literally said the same thing.
Oh, did we really?
Go, Bailey.
All right, sorry. So we may humble him, and we will each give you 1,100 pieces of silver. So Delilah said to Samson, please tell me where your great strength lies and how you might be bound that one could subdue you. I mean, he's got to think, why are you asking me this? Why all of a sudden? Samson said to her, if they bind me with 7 fresh bowstrings that have not been dried, then I shall become weak and be like other men. The Lord of the Philistines brought up to her 7 fresh bowstrings that had not been dried, and she bound him with them.
Is he drunk? Why does he keep doing this?
I don't know.
I know it just started, but I'm already irritated.
I know. No, it's because we already kind of know the story. So it's just like when you read it again, you're like, really? Freaking moron. Now she had men laying in ambush in an inner chamber. And she said to him, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. But he snapped the bowstrings as a thread of flax snaps when it touches the fire. So the secret of his strength was not known. Then Delilah said to Samson, behold, you have mocked me. Well, you tried to trick him.
Like literally
heifer.
Narcissism. There's the gaslighting right there. Like she got mad.
Yeah.
That he
lied.
Didn't die.
and and told me lies. Please tell me how you might be bound. And he said to her, if they bind me with new ropes that have not been used. He's also very sarcastic, like to me sometimes the way he does stuff, all the way back when we were reading the other stuff about him. If they bind me with new ropes and have not been used, then I shall become weak and be like other men. So Delilah took new ropes, bound him with them, and said to him, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. And the men lying in ambush were in the inner chamber, but he snapped the ropes off his arms like a thread. Then Delilah said to Samson, until now you have mocked me and told me lies. Tell me how you might be bound. And he said to her, if you weave the 7 locks of my head with the web and fasten it tight with the pin, then I shall become weak and be like other men. So while he slept, Delilah took the 7 locks of his head and wove them into the web. And she made them tight with the pin and said to him, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. But he woke up from his sleep, pulled away the pin, the loom, and the web. And she said to him, how can you say I love you? Oh, here we go.
Oh
Some
my
serious
gosh.
manipulation going on.
The manipulation.
And you probably already know this, when I was trying to get all the stuff ready for the live, and I was doing, like, it pops up to go to YouTube and then to manage videos, one of the first things that set up is there was a picture of a girl, and it has video, and it said how to manipulate men. I was just like, man, I mean, what girl doesn't really know how
Is
to
it a
do that?
blonde
But
girl?
I didn't pay attention. She was a heifer. I
She's
don't know. Just kidding.
amazing.
Yeah. I mean, what girl doesn't already kind of know how to do it anyway?
Now
But
that is a clickbait title, but if it's who I think it is,
I don't know. I didn't pay attention.
she's amazing.
Anyway, maybe men have that out there, how to trick a heifer. I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
And she said to him, how can you say I love you when your heart is not with me? You have mocked me these 3 times, and you have not told me where your great strength lies. And when she pressed him hard with her words day after day and urged, his soul was vexed to death. What does that mean? Like wore out, tired, vexed? Do you know? And he
like struck, like vexed is like depressed. It's like almost like a spell, but it's like darkness. I think.
but it just blows my mind, like, that after all that, I mean, because Samson, I mean, he wasn't, I don't know how smart or dumb he was. He seems like he's very, like, creative. He comes up, he says these things, sarcastic, whatever. But, like, you got to think there's a reason she keeps doing what she's doing. Why?
It is so weird.
Yeah.
It
Anyway,
doesn't make sense. Like the conversation literally goes from tell me how to hurt you. How dare you tell me a lie? Tell me how, like immediately, tell me the truth.
yeah,
And he says something like,
he mocked
who
him.
is being the idiot or the naive one? Like, is somebody high? It just doesn't make any sense, truly.
Maybe she's keeping him drunk. I don't know. She drinks more wine. Probably, using her body to manipulate. As he told her all his heart, and he told her all his heart. And he said to her, a razor has never come upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite to God from my mother's womb. If my head is shaved, then my strength will leave me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. When Delilah saw that he told her all his heart, she sent and called the lords of the Philistines, saying, come up again, for he has told me all his heart. Then the lords of the Philistines came up to her and brought the money in her hands. She made him sleep on her knees. And she called a man and had him shave off the 7 locks of his head. Then he, 7 locks. It's interesting that they use the number 7. Then she began to torment him, and his strength left him. Wow. She tormented him. And she said, the Philistines are upon you, Samson. And he woke from his sleep and said, I will go out as other times and shake myself free. But he did not know that the Lord had left him. And the Philistines seized him and gouged out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza and bound him with bronze shackles. And he ground at the mill in the prison. But the hair of his head began to grow again after it had been shaved. Now the lords of the Philistines gathered to offer a great sacrifice to Dagon, their god, and to rejoice. And they said, our God has given Samson, our enemy, into our hand. And when the people saw him, they praised their God. For they said, our God has given our enemy into our hand, the ravager of our country, who has killed many of us. And when their hearts were merry, they said, call Samson that he may entertain us. So they called Samson out of the prison, and he entertained them. They made him stand between the pillars. And Samson said to the young men who held him by the hand, let me feel the pillars on each on which the house rests, that I may lean against them. Now the house was full of men and women. All the lords of the Philistines were there, and on the roof there were about 3,000 men and women who looked on while Samson entertained. Then Samson called to the Lord, O Lord God, please remember me, and please strengthen me only this once. O God, that I may be avenged on the Philistines for my 2 eyes. And Samson grasped the 2 middle pillars on which the house rested, and he leaned his weight against them, his right hand on the one and his left hand on the other. And Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. Then he bowed or bowed with all his strength, and the house, I guess that would be bowed, wouldn't it? With all his strength, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people who were in it. So the dead whom he killed at his death were more than those he had killed during his life. Then his brothers and all his family came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah. There's paper plates in the pantry. Then his brothers and all his family came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshtal in the tomb of Manoah, his father. He had judged Israel 20 years. So for 20 years, the other thing that blows my mind is, like, it was clear God used him as a judge, right? And he definitely had a thing against the Philistines. They had a thing against him for sure, especially after he killed 1,000 men with the donkey, the jaw, the bone of the donkey. So I'm sure there's no love lost there. But the fact that you didn't realize his eyes were gouged? Yeah, that was pretty brutal. Right, like that's what I was gonna say. Like the thing with women with him, like he clearly, had a weakness when it came to women. And they when was it 16? Oh, 17 and 18. All right. So yeah, just pretty tough. All right. Can you see what it do?
Maybe we slide. Am I doing chapter 18?
17. We're on 17.
Oh, okay.
Is that where you want?
Uh-huh.
Okay. For sure.
So much. Like, this is one. There are a lot of things I can just let go of, but this would be one of the things that if you were to remember some things to find out when you see God, if you had a few questions, this would be one. Like, what's the rest of the story? Like,
My God used him. That's crazy.
what is how what kind of an adult man is that naive? To like in the same breath. Is it not in the same breath? Is it right after some making out? Is it during pillow talk? Is it like what is? Anyway, okay. Hey babe, half of it. Okay, slow down. Pardon me. Micah and the Levite. There was a man of the hill country of Ephraim whose name was Micah. And he said to his mother, the 1,100 pieces of silver that were taken from you, about which you uttered a curse, and also, what? Who? Is this random? Is this a whole new story?
I don't know. Keep going. Let's see.
Have we talked about Micah?
Huh.
Okay. There was a man of the hill country of Ephraim. Enter Micah, talking to his mom. The silver that were taken from you, about which you uttered a curse, and also spoke it in my ears. Behold, the silver is with me. I took it. And his mother said, Blessed be my son by the Lord. And he restored the 1,100 pieces of silver to his mother. And his mother said, I dedicate the silver to the Lord from my hand for my son, to make a carved image and a metal image. Now, therefore, I will restore it to you. So when he restored the money to his mother took 200 pieces of silver and gave it to the silversmith, who made it into a carved image and a metal image. And it was in the house of Micah. And the man Micah had a shrine, and he made an ephod and household gods, and ordained one of his sons, who became his priest. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. Now there was a young man of Bethlehem in Judah, of the family of Judah, who was a Levite, and he sojourned there. And the man departed from the town of Bethlehem in Judah to sojourn where he could find a place. And as he journeyed, he came to the hill country of Ephraim, to the house of Micah. And Micah said to him, Where do you come from? And he said to him, I am a Levite of Bethlehem in Judah, and I am going to sojourn where I may find a place. And Micah said to him, Stay with me, and be to me a father and a priest, and I will give you 10 pieces of silver a year and a suit of clothes for your living. And the Levite went in, and the Levite was content to dwell with the man, and the young man became to him like one of his sons. And Micah ordained the Levite, and the young man became his priest and was in the house of Micah. Then Micah said, Now I know that the Lord will prosper me, because I have a Levite as a priest.
So random.
Hey, girlfriend.
It just made me wonder, like, the 1,100 silvers, which is what they were paying Delilah, but it doesn't seem to have anything to do with that. Like where did all that come from? And it, like he was building an idol, like him and his mom both. I don't know. All right. Danites take the Levite and the idol. In those days, there was no king in Israel, and in those days, the tribe of the people of Dan was seeking for itself an inheritance to dwell in. For until then, no inheritance among the tribes of Israel had fallen to them. So the people of Dan sent 5 able men from the whole number of their tribe, from Zorah and from Eshtal to spy out the land and to explore it. And they said to them, Go and explore the land. And they came to the hill country of Ephraim, to the house of Micah, and lodged there. When they were by the house of Micah, they recognized the voice of the young Levite. And they turned aside and said to him, Who brought you here? What are you doing in this place? What is your business here? And he said to them, This is how Micah dealt with me. He has hired me, and I have become the priest. And they said to him, Inquire of God, please, that we may know whether the journey on which we are setting out will succeed. And the priest said to them, Go in peace. The journey of which you go is under the eye of the Lord. How did he know? And then the 5 men departed and came to Laish, and saw the people who were there, how they lived in security after the manner of the Sidonians, quiet and unsuspecting, lacking nothing that is in the earth, and possessing wealth, and how they were far from the Sidonians and had no dwellings with anyone. And when they came to the brothers of Zorah and Eshtal, their brothers said to them, What do you report? They said, Arise and let's go up against them. For we have seen the land, and behold, it is very good. And will you do nothing? And will you do nothing? Do not be slow to go, to enter in and possess the land. As soon as you go, you will come to an unsuspecting people. The land is spacious, for God has given it into your hands, a place where there is no lack of anything that is in the earth. So 600 men of the tribe of Dan, armed with weapons of war, set out for Zorah and Eshtal, and went up and encamped at Gireth Jearim in Judah. On this account, the place is called Mahana Dan to this day. Behold, it is west of Kirath Jearim. And they passed on from there to the hill country of Ephraim and came to the house of Micah. Then the 5 men who had gone out to scout the country of Laish said to their brothers, Do you know that in these houses there are an ephod, household gods, a carved image, and a metal image? Now therefore consider what you will do. And they turned aside there and came to the house of the young Levite at the home of Micah. And they asked him about his welfare. Now the 600 men of the Danites, armed with their weapons of war, stood by the entrance of the gate. And the 5 men who had gone to scout the land went up and entered and took the carved image, the ephod, the household gods, and the metal image, while the priests stood by the entrance of the gate with the 600 armed men armed with weapons of war. And when these went into Micah's house and took the carved image, the ephod, and the household gods, and the metal image, the priest said to them, What are you doing? And they said to him, Keep quiet, put your hand on your mouth, and come with us, and be to us a father and a priest. It is better for you to be a priest to the house of one man. Is it better for you to be the priest of the house of one man, or to be the priest to a tribe and clan in Israel? And the priest's heart were glad, and the priest's heart was glad. He took the ephod and the household gods and the carved image and went along with the people. So he turned on him. It says, Put your hand on your mouth. I just have a visual of that. It's funny. So he's walking around with his hands. So they turned and departed, putting the little ones and the livestock and the goods in front of them. When they had gone a distance from the home of Micah, the men who were in the houses near Micah's house were called out, and they overtook the people of Dan, and they shouted to the people of Dan, who turned around and said to Micah, What is this matter with you, that you come with such a company? And he said, you take my gods that I made and the priest and go away, and what have I left? How then do you ask me, what is the matter with you? And the people of Dan said to him, do not let your voice be heard among us, lest angry fellows fall upon you, and you lose your life with the lives of your household. Then the people of Dan went their way, and when Micah saw that they were too strong for him, he turned and went back to his home. But the people of Dan took what Micah had made, and the priests who belonged to him, and they came to Laish, to a people quiet and unsuspecting, and struck them with the edge of the sword and burned the city with fire. And there was no deliverer, because it was far from Sidon, and they had no dealings with anyone. It was in the valley that belonged to Beth Rehob. Then they rebuilt the city and lived in it. And they named the city Dan, after the name of Dan, the ancestor, who was born to Israel. But the name of the city was Laish at the first. And the people of Dan set up the carved image for themselves. And Jonathan, the son of Gershom, son of Moses, and his son were priests to the tribe of the Danites until the day of the captivity of the land. So they set up Micah's carved image that he made as long as the house of God was at Shiloh. I don't understand all this right now. So.
I don't really understand.
I don't either.
So the people of Dan took what Micah had made and the priests who belonged to him, and they came to Laish, to a people quiet and unsuspecting, and struck them with the edge of the sword and burned the city with fire. And there was no deliverer, because it was far from Sidon, and they had no dealings with anyone. It was in the valley that belongs to Beth Rehob. Then they rebuilt the city and lived in it. And they named the city Dan, after the name of Dan, their ancestor, who was born in Israel. The new city was Laish. People of Dan set the carved image for themselves. Then Gershom, son of Moses, his sons were priests to the tribe. Dan answered to the day. There's so much talking about God here, but then there's this carved image. I don't like this carved image is everywhere. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's just so weird.
totally lost right now.
Okay.
Read that. Maybe
She's going to tell us. She's going to help us as usual. Basically, Mary said, hold on. Oh, let me have this. Will you grab that? I just don't want my computer to fall.
What, this?
Just no, the big one. And just set it under there. It'll be flat for this slippery surface. Thank you. Okay.
Right. I get that. I get all that, but it just is so random to me. That's what I guess. It's just like, here's this guy, Micah, and he doesn't worship God. He worships idols. He created his own idols.
Literally.
And then
Created a priest out of a sojourner.
paid him to be
What
his
you doing, baby?
priest. And
Okay.
the priest obviously
You haven't
leaves.
finished some eggs if you want some eggs. Over here on this plate right here. You want some eggs? You can put it in a piece of bread too if you want. Okay. We'll do lunch in a little bit, okay? All right. Let's see what she says. Today, Samson visits a prostitute in Gaza a Philistine city. So this is wicked on multiple levels. The local plan is to ambush him. But he leaves early and takes part of the city gate with him. Then he falls for a Philistine named Delilah, but the feeling isn't mutual. She's just a hired covert agent. The Philistine lords pay her 5,500 pieces of silver to find out the secret of his strength. Their curiosity suggests he isn't muscular. Otherwise, they'd know where his strength comes from. But if he is, in fact, scrawny, then his feats of strength serve to glorify God, not his own body. We learn a lot about him today. He's a deep sleeper. He has 7 dreadlocks. Either he's blinded by lust or he's arrogant or drunk. She didn't say that. And assumes he can't be overpowered or both. And he does not learn from his mistakes. Delilah tries 3 times to find out where his strength comes from, and either he doesn't trust her or he's just being sneaky as usual. He lies repeatedly. When he finally explains that he's under a vow to God, he refers to God by his generic name, Elohim, not his personal name, Yahweh. This shows us how he views God. It's the difference between knowing God and knowing about God. He doesn't seem to take God's call on his life seriously. His disobedience leaves him vulnerable. Delilah gets her money and has a man shave his head, and the spirit leaves him. At this point in history, this is possible because God, the Spirit, doesn't indwell people yet.
Yeah, you don't have the Holy Spirit.
The enemy overtakes Samson, and he's stripped of every aspect of his identity, his dreadlocks, his strength, and the spirit. The Philistines' punishment are fitting because they correspond to his 2 major areas of sin. They gouge out his eyes, a major weakness for him, and they force him to do a woman's work, grinding at the mill. Cue Maxwell. Which has to be an affront to his pride. Without God, he doesn't even have the strength to do a man's work. Dang. I didn't realize that was a gender thing. But as his hair grows back, so does his strength. They bring him out at a pagan festival as entertainment, which often involves taunting or beating a prisoner. It probably doesn't involve feats of strength because as far as they know, he's weak.
Yeah.
Why does no one remember? Why is no one like, hey, his hair? He cries out to God, calling him Yahweh, and asks for strength. Could it be that he's repentant? God gives him strength, and he pushes over 2 load-bearing pillars, destroying the pagan temple and killing everyone, including himself. Okay, here we go with the wildness. Then we see sheer anarchy in Israel. Micah, an Ephraimite, steals from his mom and then confesses. And she builds an idol to Yahweh in response. This is the first of many instances where people show both a lack of awareness of God's laws and a total disregard for the ones they do know. Without leaders, people self-govern, but it's usually too subjective to be righteous. Micah sets the secondary holy site. Micah sets up a temple in his house and ordains his son, who is not a Levite, as a priest. This secondary holy site is wicked and defiant. When he meets a Levite named Jonathan, who is appointed to live among Judah, Micah realizes this is his chance to have an actual Levite priest, and he tries to use God for selfish gain. He also makes his own ephod. It's good that he wants to know God's will, but he goes about it in ways that dishonor God. He's more interested in getting answers and being powerful than in drawing near to God. Sounds like very legalistic. The tribe of Dan never drove out the Canaanites, so they're looking for a new home. Here we go. the tribe of Dan never drove out the Canaanites.
No. It happened in a lot of places, which is what
Right.
caused all this.
I remember that. So they're looking for a new home. They ask Jonathan if it's okay to abandon the land God allotted. He gives them hopeful but wicked counsel. So they head to a town called Laish and kill unsuspecting people in a land not allotted to them before asking Jonathan to be their unauthorized priest in their unauthorized land. Here's the God shot. What is yours? Samson doesn't call God by his name until the end. And God meets this blind, rebellious prisoner in his hour of need. He doesn't say, no, you've screwed up too many times. God shows up with a yes to Samson's prayer and uses his tragic story as one of the steps towards setting his people free from oppression. He wants intimacy with us, even in prisons and on deathbeds. He's ready to come closer. And that's good news for us, whether we're in dire straits or in a place of abundance, because he's where the joy is. Same pattern. He calls out and God shows up. Same pattern. I love that she explained the title that Samson was calling God, how it was different. Elohim. I thought that was an intimate name, but I guess not. It's personally a name. It's Yahweh. And then he calls out. It's crazy to me that they're just going, can you just be my priest? Because you're a Levite. And also, what did Jonathan say to them that was wicked counsel? Do you remember?
Well, it doesn't mention Jonathan.
The tribe of, they asked Jonathan if it's okay to abandon the land God allotted.
Okay, so
It's at that last crazy part. Go down. They're asking.
I don't remember mentioning Jonathan by name. All right here. And the people of Dan set up carved images for themselves, and Jonathan, the son of Gershom, son of Moses, and his sons were priests to the tribe of the Danites, and that's all it says, to the day of the captivity of the land. So they set up Micah's carved image that he made as long as the house of God was at Shiloh. Um, 18:5, she says. Said, inquire of God, please, that we may know whether the journey on which we were setting out will succeed. And the priest said to them, go in peace. The journey on which you go is under the eye of the Lord. So I guess that the priest was Jonathan, right? Because I was like, how did he know?
Over by the house of Micah, they recognized the voice of the young Levite. And they turned aside and said to him, who brought you here? What are you doing? And he said to them, this is how Micah dealt with me. He has hired me. And they said, inquire of God. So that's Jonathan?
Yeah.
The guy that
became the priest for him that was hired was Jonathan.
I didn't realize that.
Me either until just now.
The sojourner is
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Oops, sorry.
Huh.
Yeah.
How do we know that? Why doesn't it say his name? It talks about him like we have no idea who he is.
Not until the other guys show up and say, "Hey, we know your name." They recognize his voice. They were like, "Hey, wait a minute." Probably an accent, I'm guessing,
Wow.
because they probably had their own accent, maybe, or
Left
some.
with your consequences. Hmm.
It's just you start seeing the chaos, like she said, like just craziness,
Uh-huh.
like lying, like making up all this. Which I mean, they kind of been doing a lot of that anyway, but the deal with Samson, the other thing, Mary, you said something about, if it makes you stumble. One of the things I keep thinking about as we read almost all these chapters, not all of them, but a lot of them start out by saying, and they did what was right in their own eyes, or they did what was evil in the sight, right? They did what was right in their own eyes. Is that what they said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so almost makes me wonder, like,
It's not a good part. It's not a good line. You don't want that line in your story.
yeah.
It's quite the chaos today. I just would not want to be around Samson at all. He's a mess. He's a mess. You guys, we have.
Well, and sorry, no, I'm sorry. I guess when you think about, you have Moses transition to Joshua, and so you have these men who are not perfect, but they definitely walk with God, right? Like you could see this relationship. And Joshua says, he doesn't come up with another leader, but he says, God is your leader now. Like, you got to trust God. And they don't want that. They're wanting clearly another leader. So instead, there's these judges, right? It's considered, they're not necessarily men that are truly walking with the Lord and have this, established, recognized relationship with God of being,
It's completely legalistic. It's a
and-
lot of checking off of lists.
and just judges. And every situation is a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not that there weren't things that happened before, but has just gone chaotic. And every one of those not all the chapters, but most of them say, and they did what was right in their own eyes. They did what was right in their own eyes. They did what was right in their own eyes. And so it just, they're not trusting God. They're doing what they want to do. And you're seeing the consequences and the results of that. Just that whole area of Canaan has just become a mess.
Mm-hmm.
Their prostitution is clearly going on a lot. I mean, people building idols, worshiping just random stuff that they're making, just craziness.
This craziness.
Yeah.
We have one more day in Judges, and then we're going to be in Ruth, which is probably a day. Yeah. It's a day. So that is tomorrow, Sunday. Don't do that. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I'm so tired, guys. Tomorrow is the end of Judges. Monday, we will begin and end Ruth. And this week, Thursday will be our 100th day in the Word. Whether you started on day 2 or day 92, that's us. Thank you for journeying with us. It's really cool. So exciting. We're almost a third of the way through. Not quite, but Yeah, that's really wild. I feel so much more knowledgeable about Samson for sure. And curious. He's just one of those like, he got away with a lot, Pops. He got a lot. I got away with a lot, Father. What's up with that? And not because I want him to be in trouble. I'm just like, there is a difference here. That's why I love this journey, to keep me in the word, because out of his word and relationship is not where I want to be. No. Can you imagine us spending the rest of our lives not having gone through the word like this? What a gift. It's amazing to me. I feel completely honored and humbled for sure, and tired. I'm so tired. The bed is so hard. And the fan, the first night, I don't know if you can hear, like, it feels like, like when you're going to get sick or just have a sore throat, like your throat is, anyway, almost like it's in the winter. And I'm like, the first night, the ginormous fan in there was on and it goes like 90 to nothing. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to be good for my sinuses. Well, it wasn't. Everything feels inflamed, like just, and I couldn't breathe. Anyway, there's a bed that Isaiah slept in last night that I have my eyes on. I'm going to make my way down there.
Which caused a sibling rivalry at 10 o'clock last night.
Why?
Because Dee walked in and goes, he's in my bed. He was mad. I mean, he got mad. He said, that's my bed. I was like, oh.
After we just had a talk.
No.
Poor Zay.
And I was like, well, he's asleep. So we're just going to sleep in this bed.
Mm-hmm.
Did not go over. Oh, he slept there, but didn't go over very well. He was.
Well, Zay went to bed in tears, so.
Yeah.
He just crawled up among the pillows and.
He was out.
What are you excited about today? What gets no play today? And to who and how can you share God's extraordinary love? I'm excited about asking Chris if he would like to take the kids to the pools at the resort over here, who happen to also have a spa. I think Chris is trying to go fish. What do you think?
No, I'm not going to get to fish. Not with this
Why?
many kids. Unless I'm going by myself, I'm not going to get to. I just was trying to wait and see. The kids are wanting to go on the boat, so I'm just trying to see what that's going to look like.
That would be like right now or never.
I don't even know if that's even going to be.
There are boats out. I'm excited about nothing to do today.
I have 4 kids here. There's something to do.
I'm excited about nothing to do today. I'm excited about resting. And what gets no play is not doing my prayer journal. And I would really like to send out a joy mail today to my email list and possibly take our niece and nephew over to the land where we are. It's just like right over there. That's right there. And so
by boat. We drove right by it yesterday.
They haven't seen it yet. So that's really cool. An extraordinary love goes to Isaiah. We had a tough talk last night. And he was showing up very, very selfish. And he was showing up very self-defensive and self-protecting and not super honest and just all of that. And then when we talked through that and just kind of broke things down and really talked through other ways of handling things, then what came out from deep inside was, he said, I'm mad at myself. And I said, why? And he said, I'm a horrible person. And I just started crying Because when he thought about it, he could tell, he's like, I just get so frustrated. I just get so mad. And I was like, I get so mad at your dad. I get so mad at him. I just be irritated with him. And I don't know why. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I
And
don't
he was
either, most of the
sniffling and
time.
he's like, yes. And I was just trying to identify with him. And it just reminded me as a mom, it reminded me as a woman who's reparenting my inner child along the journey with parenting my own kids, that you just cannot go off of what you see with children. You can't say, oh, the kids are so strong because they're getting through it. You can't say, oh, they're being so selfish because like they're still learning. And it's so helpful to just get with them face to face and to sit with them and to talk through things. And sometimes they don't understand what is so bad about this until they see another way that they could have handled it. And we can be that way because we in communication, we in relationship, we've all just attained to different levels of development. And so it just, even with our spouses and with ourselves, we just have to go like, I mean, I'm feeling this, or he's showing up like this, but how is my child, how am I, how is my spouse going to see another way to do this if they've never been shown that? Hey, this is another way that could have been handled. And initially just realizing the vast difference in the way Isaiah had handled something with Dee and the way that he could have, he felt so bad. And he just felt bad for getting angry and irritated with his brother and not really knowing why, you know? And I was like, cause human, cause I feel that way. We all get that way. Anyway, and so it softened me so much and just made me think he's showing up like a little punk. And, you think, hey, you don't get to know. Mm-mm. And also, that's like one of several conversations we've had over the last few weeks that I feel like just kind of finally got to the soft spot. So I'm grateful for that. And I just want to keep him and I there in that conversation and keep myself aware that he too, just like me, is just reacting from emotion sometimes and needs a little help, needs a little grace, and needs some one-on-one time away from everybody else to talk through those things so that he can really hear me, so I can really hear God, that kind of thing. So anyway, just a reminder, never take a person at face value. Never think that just because someone shows up strong or shows up harsh or shows up mighty or shows up defensive or independent, that means they don't need you and they don't need to be loved and to be forgiven and to be held. And it was a good reminder for me. So, all right, we're going to stay on one more minute. Anything else? Excited about your Go Garage when it comes? Yes, you should. It should be there any day. They had, she had just like 3 or something of this color. And so I had her go ahead and make a few. Isn't that cute? It looks all like camp colors, like this kind of vibe. Jackie, your shirt should be here. Please put it with a whole fit and send me a picture. I need pictures. Mary said, same, Stacey. I'm excited about nothing to do today. No place, self-doubt, love. My dog.
So explain them.
What kind of dog do you have? What you doing? They're not as resilient as that. No, they are not. They are not. They don't have a choice. Children are not being resilient. They are coping and functioning with no tools and no language, and they just don't have a choice. They're not resilient, and they shouldn't have to be. You know, it's not something that we need for our children to be. Resilience should come with a lot of time, experience, and maturity. Our kids are not resilient. They're just dealing with it. They're dealing with the messages that we send them. They're dealing with the pain of being raised by imperfect, hurtful people. They're just suffering, usually silently. It's actually not so silent because it comes up. It shows up. But yeah. All right. Are you sharing?
I don't know what excited I'm stuck. Like, I would like to go out on a boat. I'd like to be out on the water today. So we'll see if that happens. Um, yeah,
Just go. Just go on the boat. Now's the time, right?
I'll show you in a second.
Okay. Is that it?
So
All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow, Sunday, at 5 o'clock. And we love you guys. Big time. We love you. Enjoy your Saturday. Get you some Sabbath in. Uno, dos, tres.
he's where
He's
the
where
joy
the joy
is.
is. Bye, guys.
Hey, I tried to